Donald is watching TV before he retires to his bed. His wife, Doris, is reading in bed before she settles for the night. "What are you doing?" she says coldly. "Get into your own bed." "A kiss then?" asked Donald, gently. "No," is the stark reply. "Good night," says Donald from the other bed. There's no response from Doris. "Good night," says Donald again. There is no reply from the other bed. This upsets him, and so he decides to telephone his wife in the other bed. He makes a call. The phone rings, and she answers. "Hello?" she says. "You're a ratbag," he says down the phone in a coarse voice full of hurt and anger. She puts the phone down, gets up out of her bed, heads to the wardrobe, grabs a case, and then walks out of the bedroom, leaving Donald on his own to stew. Doris bangs the door on the way out. Meanwhile, in a different bedroom, the curtains get swished back. Frank is bathed in intense bright light as it floods the room. As Frank screws up his eyes and tries to focus, a stunning trolley dolly is getting dressed just a few feet away from him. "Frankfurt?" asks the sleepyhead. The girl shakes her head to indicate no, and she's not smiling either. "New York?" he asks. She shakes her head again. "Sydney," she declares. "Oh, so you'll be gone a long time then?" he states. "Very long," she says. "I'm leaving you, Frank." Frank sits up. "Why?" he asks with surprise. "Because you're a louse," she says. And then the bedside phone rings. "Luckman here. I'll keep it short. We've rejected your designs," says Frank's boss down the phone. "But I spent 4 months working on them," says Frank. "Then you wasted 4 months," Luckman replies. "It's rubbish." Frank puts his phone down. He turns to the girl. "You're an oaf," she says. "You never look at me. You never caress me, even when it's my birthday. You are useless in bed. You stick it in, and that's it." "My parents have never met you. Do you know why?" "I'm ashamed to introduce you," she says. Frank's phone rings again. He picks it up. "At least 2 of those designs must be usable," Frank says. "It's too extreme. It's avant-garde. We want soft colours, soft patterns," says Luckman. "I'm coming straight over. to defend my designs, says Frank. No, you're not, replies Luckman. You've got 1 week to come up with something perfect, he says sternly. What's your problem? Frank challenges his boss. You're the problem, replies Luckman. This is your last chance. Frank puts the phone down. I'm going, she says. Frank looks stunned. You don't know why, do you? No. He shakes his head nonchalantly. I'm glad, she says with contempt in her voice. I hope you never understand. She walks out, banging the door behind her. Frank moves fast and leaps out of his bed. He heads for the window and looks down to the street. She is striding away at a pace beneath him, case in hand. It's a blazing hot day out there. The girl walks swiftly and she passes a couple of builders who are laying down some brickwork. Frank looks down on the scene from the window. There is very loud ethnic Indian music permeating the street. One of the workers downs his coal chisel and, in a rage, shouts up at a window where the music is coming from. Hey! Shut that monkey music up! His voice echoes off the walls. Frank watches on as the fracas unfolds. Falsetto female vocals are accompanying ear-splitting sitars. The stocky builder continues to bellow up at the window, while his mate watches on, leaning on his shovel. Hey, bleeding jungle bunny, Stocky Man shouts. The music continues, and so Stocky Man decides to boot the door in. He kicks the front door in, runs upstairs, picks up the hi-fi and chips it out the window onto the street below. His sidekick sweeps up the debris. The owner of the hi-fi is outraged and lashes out at the pair. You killed my music, he shouts at them. The Asian guy goes mental and picks on a white guy who has a travelling wind-up accordion music stall who's turned up. The Asian attacks the organ grinder for playing his Western music. The Asian guy punches the organ grinder and floors him. Frank is watching the proceedings from upstairs playing out on the street below. Having punched the owner, the Asian pushes the cart towards the edge of the pier while his wife runs towards him. The Asian man's wife cannot prevent the inevitable. The entertainment cart plunges into the drink. You kill my music, I kill your music, he shouts. The designers sit around the table. Shall we get on? Says Luckman. Is this more of Frank stuff? Says Donald. Yes. Luckman reveals the first design. Here we go again, says Donald. What does Frank think, that he's an artist? Next up comes the sari pattern inspired design. They look at it for a few seconds before it gets quickly dismissed. No one makes any comment at all. "What the hell is this?" says Donald. "It's rubbish." "Mind your tone," says Luckman. "He's talented, but he's got problems." "That much is obvious," says Donald. "Who'd wear that?" he says. "Is he queer?" inquires the other guy. "No," says Luckman. "It's camp crap," says the other guy. "Don't be cheeky," says Luckman. "Kick him out," says Donald, referring to the other guy. "Shut up, or I'll kick you out," replies Luckman. "I'm paid to give my opinion," says Donald. "Frank is a frustrated artist. Why does he use those loud colours? He's taking the mickey. The whole fashion scene is pastel tints." "So Frank is just taking the mickey?" asks Luckman. "Yes," replies Donald. "What good is a designer who doesn't deliver what you ask for?" The boss, Luckman, puts up the sari design again. "I think this is good," he says, looking at the sari pattern. "Really? What's so good about it?" challenges Donald. "The colour is nice," says Luckman. "It has character, without being loud. The design isn't tied to a specific milieu. It's cheerful, it's optimistic, and it's a leaf design, timeless. This is going to the printers." He taps the board. "A summer dress." "Why are we sitting here?" says Donald. "We say what we think, but you don't listen. There's no discussion. Nothing's happening at all. What you say goes, and that's final." Luckman walks forward. "I don't feel like discussing this," he addresses Donald. "You've got personal problems. That's why you're uppity." "What do you mean?" says Donald, not amused. "Your wife's left you, hasn't she?" says Luckman. "Because she's bored. Because you can't get it up." "Filthy rotten queen," says Donald in reaction. He stiffens up in his chair and then he leaps out of it towards the boss. Donald attempts to throttle Luckman. They both hit the deck. The other guy pulls the enraged Donald off of Luckman. The other guy then throws Donald down onto a chair. "Listen, calm down," he says. But Donald leaps back up and tries again to go for Luckman. The other guy smacks Donald hard across the face. The other guy then goes over to Luckman and offers him a hand up from the floor. Luckman stands up by himself and brushes his helper away, and then, somewhat dishevelled, he walks out of the room. "I only want what's best," says Donald, with a pained expression. The downtrodden Donald walks out of the building onto the street. He hears a bellowing voice shouting at him from above. He looks up to see Luckman hanging out of a window pointing at him. "You're fucked!" Luckman shouts so loudly that the aggressive sound bounces off the walls. "Here's wishing you rotten luck," he screams.